everyone, welcome back to the Tainted Bloodline series, and today we're gonna go deeper. We have people out here suffering. They have been going through generational sickness, generational infirmity, generational addiction. They don't know what to do. They have no idea that what is happening to them is because the enemy has legal rights in the bloodline, and that is why he is causing all of this torment, infirmity, all of this captivity, bondage, suffering, and all these things that they're going through, right? And so they don't have the language, but today we're going to talk about it. So we have to understand one thing. For the enemy to actually gain legal rights in your family, he has to have made a covenant with a generation or with a person who actually they go in and they have a agreement. So in the spiritual realm, there's a system. Nobody comes in uninvited. The Lord Jesus says, behind, I stand at the door knocking. Open and we will come. I will come and have and dine with you, right? And so this is a system that you do not trespass into a family, into a household without first being invited to it, right? So that is why when you understand this, the enemy, when you know that the enemy has legal rights to your bloodline, your family, to your generation, then you know for sure that he has been invited. And you invite enemy through a covenant. So when we talk about a covenant, let's picture a wedding. In the wedding, we have the vow ceremony, we have the food, dancing, we have also the couple's consummation of their marriage, right? It's the same thing when it comes to a covenant with the enemy, the devil. Always there has to be an agreement that is formed, and there has to be sacrifice, there has to be food, and there has to be sexual intercourse. And let's talk about the sacrifice. The sacrifice can either be a human or an animal sacrifice. In the book of Leviticus, we see how when a person would go and do a fellowship or a peace offering, they would bring an animal to the priest, and the priest would sacrifice it. And they would give like the fat, the long lobe of the liver, and the kidneys to God. They would burn it to God. And then they would take for themselves the thighs and the breast of the animal they would eat. And then the rest of the sacrifice they would give to the person, the offerer, right? They would give it to him, and this person would go and eat it in a holy place that very same day. So let's go back to how the enemy operates in this. So when it comes to food, after the sacrifice has been made, then they would take the food and they would eat it, basically. So whether it's a human sacrifice or the sacrifice of an animal, you're eating it. And so that's what they do. You would eat it, and after eating it, then they finish with a sexual intercourse. So let's go deeper when it comes to eating. When the book of Daniel chapter 1, we see how Daniel and his friends were literally exiled, and they were carried off into the king's palace, and they were trained. And the king gave specific orders that they would eat the food, the delicacies from the king's table. And you would think that's good because they're eating, they're eating like pizzas and burgers and everything. But here's the problem. The big problem is that was so because the food that the king's table received usually had just come from it was first offered to the idols, their gods, and then first brought into the king's table. So after they offered the food to the idols, and they bring and put it on the king's table, and then after that we see that Daniel and his friends and the eunuchs, they were going to eat. Daniel purposed in his heart not to be defiled by eating that food, because he understood this strategy. Where there's food, there's communion, right? And food is a way to bind, to bring people together, because it seals the covenant. And that is why where there's a wedding, there's food. The couples eat food, that this is the first food of the day or whatever, because they understand that food actually brings people together. It joins them together. It joins you, and it makes the covenant strong. That is what Daniel understood, and that is what Nebuchadnezzar wanted. So that when they eat the food that has been offered to the idols, they would be joined to the idols in Babylon, and they would forsake God, Yahweh, who they have already been joined with. So when it comes to food, and when it comes to food that is offered in the during a covenant, food is very important because it shows there's a communion, right? And it shows that this covenant is being made strong. It seals the covenant. It's being made strong because of food.